Hi, everyone.
Hi. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. Here we are, Women Empowering Women Night. And welcome everybody that's here already. But as everybody pops in, Monday.
Time to get inspired.
Yeah, time to get inspired.
Time to get revved up.
Yes.
And I guess we went through a equinox, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So we are officially into fall.
Yes. My favorite. I love the fall.
I love fall too. It's my favorite. Although it's sad because this was the month that school would start, and I would have such fun at the preschool doing all the holidays, and Cassie doing when she was little doing all the holidays. So, it's a bit. I love the fall, but it's also kind of a melancholy time as well. A little bit, it kind of brings back happy memories, but also kind of like, oh, I miss that stuff,
Right, all the fun stuff at school
yeah.
that you do, for sure.
Yeah.
And
but it's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful time of year. I love the fall.
So Andrea's wearing fall colors, representing.
Yes.
Yay.
Pumpkin today.
Yay. Pumpkin spice.
Pumpkin spice, pumpkin latte, pumpkin pie, pumpkin pumpkin popcorn.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding. I don't know. But yeah, fall does start to be cozy. I noticed that everything's changing.
You know what? It changed here literally overnight. Last Wednesday, it was still steamy, boiling, disgusting hot. Overnight, you had to wear a sweater the next day. Unbelievable. The transformation.
That's
I think part of it was the hurricane blowing up the coast because we had wild weather on Thursday last week.
Right. How did you fare through that?
I'm okay, but I have both sides of my family live on the East Coast, so lots of power outages for cousins and aunts and uncles, and so everyone's okay, as far as I know. Knock on wood.
Yay.
Wow. The New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland really got the brunt of that Hurricane Fiona. So
yeah.
Now,
is Fiona the one going up the coast, going into the
Ian
Gulf?
is the next one. Ian's hitting Florida.
Ian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird because this is coming out of nowhere because when I was tapping in on the weathers and stuff like that, I wasn't getting a big hit on the Gulf side of Florida, but here it comes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Wishing everybody safe home surroundings wherever you are.
So maybe it'll drop down to a tropical storm before it hits.
Yeah. That's kind of what I got. I don't get I have to say I don't get a whole lot on natural disasters. Every once in a while, or if somebody asks, I can usually pull something up, but it doesn't seem to just come in like it does for a lot of, and I think that's, you have your kind of specialties, like you have things that just kind of come more naturally to you, and then other things that it's like you really kind of have to pull at or try to really tune into. And that's one of them for me is kind of natural disasters.
Same with me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we should get started.
All righty.
And I feel like, I know. And for a fact, Andrea, you're first tonight.
Oh, well, thank you kindly. So my guest this evening, she's still alive. Isn't that exciting? We've got a live one tonight. And I was really inspired by her story, and there's something about her face I just love. Her name is Erna Schneider Hoover. And there she is. I just love her face. That top right photo there. I was really just drawn to her face and her kindness and her story. So she was born in 1926 in New Jersey. And her, modest family, her father was a dentist and her mother was a teacher. And when she was young, unfortunately, her brother died from polio at the age of 5. So obviously that would be a tremendous moment in her life. And she started being interested in science at a very early age. And I'm wondering if that's probably got something to do with the brother passing away, wanting to study science and medicine, etc. So with that, she read a book of the biography of Mary Curie. And when she read that, she got excited because she realized she could have an opportunity to study science, even though in that time frame it was not suggested for women to go into those deeper, bigger studies, right? But she got inspired by reading the biography of Mary Curie. So she finished high school, and then she went on to college and she studied philosophy and history. And then she went to Yale and got her PhD in philosophy and mathematics. I mean, you get a doctor's degree in mathematics, you got to be one smart person.
Oh, yeah.
So just this really smart young woman, avid studying about the sciences, and I do feel, maybe we'll pick up on that later, the passing of her brother, I think, kind of made her want to go into the sciences. So with that degree, she became a professor at Swarthmore College from 1951 to 1954, where she taught philosophy and logic. I love that she taught logic. However, she was unable to win a tenure-track position, most likely because of her gender and her marital status. She was a single young woman, as we know, obviously facing oppression and things at that time. So in 1953, she got married to Charles Wilson Hoover Jr., and he was extremely supportive of his wife's career pursuits. So I'm glad that she met someone that championed her, because it would be, she'd be quite an anomaly at the time, being a woman with such a brilliant mind in science studies and a doctorate from Yale. In 1954, she joined Bell. So we know the company Bell Labs, and she was a senior technical associate. She got promoted 2 years later. So she was obviously very talented. According to one source, the internal training program at Bell Labs was the equivalent of a master's degree in computer science. They were switching systems and moving to electronic and computer-based technologies. So talk about timing. She got in there at a time when all of this new technology was coming to the forefront. So one of the things she was in charge, or, was one of the things under their study was the call center. So when calls would come flooding in, like 1,000 people phoning at once, the phone systems would just get jammed and freeze up. So they didn't know how to fix it. So bless her heart, she's in the hospital having her second daughter, her second of 3 daughters. And she had to recover for a while in the hospital. She couldn't, I guess there were some complications. The baby was fine, but she had to stay in the hospital for a while. Didn't she come to solve the problem on the hospital bed while she's there? She said, it's like she could just see it. She could just see the calls coming in and how to figure out the chaos of the call center. So she used her knowledge of symbolic logic and feedback and a theory program to control the mechanism of the call centers. So getting the calls that weren't as important to just drop off, and getting the urgent calls through. I guess she knew the theory of how to make that happen. When Bell Labs applied for the patent number, which is patent number 3,623,007, we had to go to her bed, her hospital bed, to get her to sign
Oh my gosh.
Get her to sign off on this. So I just felt so inspired by this woman who's obviously had some complications after birth, and lo and behold, solves a riddle, a big riddle, in a time where you'd think maybe you couldn't do something. It just made me feel really inspired by her, right? She didn't let anything keep her down. Her invention was termed Feedback Control Monitor for Stored Program Data Processing System. And she was awarded that patent.
Wow.
It's one of the first software patents ever issued. And I think that's pretty awesome. And it was with her invention. So as a result of her invention, she became the first woman supervisor of a technical department at Bell Labs. She headed the operations support department in 1987, and her principles and her invention are still being used in telecommunications equipment as of today. So she really did something spectacular at a time where women and technology weren't really appreciated, and she got through. Not only did she work there, she worked at various other high-level applications, such as research radar control programs of the Safeguard anti-ballistic missile system, which were systems to intercept incoming intercontinental ballistic missile warheads. Yeah, that's what I said. What? Like, this lady is one smart piece of business.
Holy cow.
Her department worked on artificial intelligence methods, large databases, and transactional software to support large telephone networks. Like, she worked and supervised huge projects, and I just so inspired by her. So she worked there for 32 years and retired in 1987. She also served on higher education boards. She lobbied for faculty funding from the states and from the country. So she really pushed for studying. She is a inspiration for women to get into technology studies. She is, as I said, she was awarded one of the first patents for computer software. She was elected as a member of the National Inventors Hall of Fame in 2008. And she's still alive. And I think we should just all send her a big bunch of love.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So a couple questions I had. How, when she said she, and she, like I said, she was one of the first women to ever head such large technical departments. So really anyone at that time, because it was all new study, right? Technology. So I just love her face. Isn't there just something really pretty or beautiful or open and kind about her face?
Super open and kind.
Yeah.
This is a good time to kind of everybody in the chat. Let's go ahead and practice some of our reading the face at the time.
Yeah. There's just kindness and light in her face. That's all.
Super soft though too, around the eyes. A deep understanding of something there as well. The wisdom.
So facing adversity as a woman, right? Which we understand. The sadness in her childhood with the brother. Had an illness that they couldn't cure at the time. And on her hospital bed, solving something that is still used today, I think is truly inspirational. Inducted into the Inventors Hall of Fame. I bet there's not a lot of women. I just find her extremely, extremely inspiring.
Yeah.
And I thought her story, I don't know why, I just felt like her story should come through because, there's often times where we feel, I'm too tired, I can't do something right. I mean, she's a perfect example of someone who was.
That's me all the time.
Me too. Even today, I'm like, I'm too tired.
I'm tired. Always, right? A question did come through. Did she get compensated for her invention? Did they say?
I don't know. Well, I would imagine it was when you invent something at a company you work for, it would be
The company gets it?
the company gets it, but it's in her name. It's known that she invented it. Plus, she worked there till 1987, so I'd imagine she got nice pay and promotions,
Yeah.
and I'm really proud of her. Technology is not an easy field.
Especially for a woman diving in. So,
and it made me mad when it said she probably couldn't get her tenure or her whatever because she was a single female.
Right.
Not only was she female, but she was single, so we can't have them around here.
isn't that crazy?
So what can we pull from? It's still like I can feel her energy. She's got a really nice energy. And like I said, she's 96 years old. So we can all send her some loving. And
Yeah, we can
thank
send
her.
her that loving energy and know that we're thinking about her right now.
Yeah.
As well as, you guys heard about that dart hitting the asteroid? So that happened just probably about right now.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Erna wasn't part of the science behind that some way.
I mean, perfect timing that we're talking about her, and the dart is now hitting the asteroid.
And there's a lot of wonderful women in technology studies today. There's women that work at NASA, and this is exciting. So and I love that she read the biography of Mary Curie and realized, it can be a woman in science.
Oh my goodness, that's so
as
great.
a little girl. So that's another poignant point when little girls can get inspired at any time. So think of the words you use and encouragement. If there's a little kid, your daughters or grandchildren or nieces, whatever it is, and they say, I want to be an astronaut or whatever it is. And you say, oh no, you'll never be that. Those, we can't talk. We have to have that positive dialogue for the girls coming up today, no matter what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so interesting that you said she taught logic, because that was one of the first words that came to me, kind of whatever you want to say, moving into her energy was logical, very, very logical. And the other thing was humility.
Yeah.
A lot of humbleness about what she did and how she did it, and it was not, braggy in any way. She just really was a professional. And I also feel like, I don't know if it said anything about this, but I also feel like she helped a lot of other women. I don't know if it's financially or just encouraging them. I'm not sure, but I kind of feel like she helped other women, because exactly for the reasons you just said, Andrea, because women need to be in science and women need to be part of that area. And so that was something else that came through.
And when she said she saw like the phone lines, she could see how it would work. I wonder if you got, like Tesla would say he could see things, in his head, he could just see it all work out. I wonder if there is some kind of connection with her, and that, that ether where the information is.
It's interesting because I feel like someone asked, is she channeling somebody, maybe channeling someone. And as soon as they said that, I did see her brother really with his hands on her shoulders as well. But I'm wondering, her spirit team is pretty stacked, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Prophetic dreams. So so being able to see something in that other state, right? Maybe she channeled it.
Yeah. And maybe without even knowing, possibly, not, how you get in your mind and you start working on something and problems, and you're, a lot of times we don't even know that we're channeling something, but we're working with our spirit team without even knowing. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Well, I remember that Dolores Cannon used to say, or she had it come through one of her sessions, that we are given, I think she said from ETs, but she said science things are kind of put out there, and then people that are kind of connected or have some kind of connection pick it up. Those are the people that pick it up. And so I wonder if that is that kind of thing, where it was out there for somebody to figure out, and because she was kind of connected or open in that way, she's the one who got it. And she and just a brilliant mind, so it's like inspiration, and that perfect fit of that brilliant mind, that inspiration. I think that that could have been what happened, maybe, because it does feel inspired. That idea is inspired.
Another thing that she has with her, and I sense that she didn't push and have to be right about things, and I feel that sense of the ability to bring information just in a non-aggressive way was very helpful too. Like, I feel like she'd be really good at teaching. Did she?
Yeah, she taught.
She'd be really good at, I feel like she'd be really good at that, because she brought it forward in such a beautiful way as well. Yeah. You'd want to listen to her. You know what I mean? You'd be like, yeah, okay. You know what I mean? Because,
well, look at her face too. Like, there's something, I'm telling you, there's something angelic or connected in her face. It's very kind and very sweet and non-threatening, and I don't know, fair. There's something fair in her eyes. Like, I'm just going to show you what I discovered.
Yeah.
Show you. And then, she wouldn't come in and ram it down their throat. She'd be like, look what and I could just imagine those men. Can you imagine the men back at the office? And she's in the hospital after giving birth, which is, I've never given birth, but I've heard about it.
You can imagine it.
I can imagine. Right. And she's lying there, recuperating and inventing this. And they have to go there to get her to sign the thing, the paperwork. I mean, what are these men saying? That must have been really a moment, right? Like, wow, this lady is brilliant and tough, like, right, strong.
Yeah. Respect.
And mad respect. And what excuse do these guys have not to be able to do something, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, that's just like, yes, Erna.
And, I do feel like she, like you just said, she had respect of her peers, both male and female. But it's interesting because I feel like she didn't, even though she had so much success and she was so brilliant, there really wasn't a lot of envy. And I think it was partly in what you were saying, Debbie, about her delivery and the way she came across, or maybe was it Andrea? One of you were saying that the way she came across, the way she would kind of deliver her ideas, and with such logic and such an ability to come across as just explain it in a way that wasn't talking down to anybody, that she really didn't attract a lot of envy. And it also could be her good energy that she had. You usually attract what you put out, and I think that what you're talking about, Andrea, in her face, you can kind of see it. There's a gentle kindness.
You'd want to work on her team or be part of what she's working on.
Right.
And also a young woman to get her doctorate from Yale. I mean, that could shut up a lot of people too. Like, okay.
Yeah.
We can only stop her because she's young and not married.
Right.
A woman.
Right.
Oh, wait, she got married. Darn it. Now what can we do?
And she has kids. Oh no, now what do we do?
And that's another thing. Like, why wouldn't you give a single woman a job? Like, isn't that like a promotion or a standing? Like,
because you're single.
I
Like,
know.
I mean,
why?
well, we talk about that all the time,
Yeah.
but it's just one of those times. It's like,
Like,
wow.
because she needed a man in her life? Like, what are we talking about here? Just amazing. Shame on history.
Shame on history.
I just saw her face. I said yes. And I read her biography and I'm like, this woman is brilliant and I am super inspired. So I wanted to bring her forward today so we could all kind of feel her energy. And I just feel she's great. And if there's any little girls or young women that that want to study anything, but even specifically technology or math, I mean, she friggin' had a doctorate in math. We're like, I can't even use a calculator. Tell them about
Right.
Erna and tell them about her accomplishments and being in the hospital and all of this one and being, up against the odds at the time of history. And the fact that she got inducted to the Inventor Hall of Fame. I mean, this is fantastic.
Yes.
And she is 96.
Yeah.
She's still around, and I do feel like she definitely is one of those people that came here with a purpose. She knew it was, she definitely came here with a broad purpose, and she did it. She did what she came here to do. So. And we all reap the benefits of that, right?
Right.
I wonder if she gets on a computer and all that.
Oh, I bet. Imagine the reading she would do about technology and all of it, studying it. She's still, I'm sure, ingesting as much as she can.
Yeah. I do feel like she still gets very excited about technology, because I even feel like she has like an iPhone. So I feel like she's up on, like, she knows what, and to me, it feels like excitement, like exciting about how far we've come in such a, not a very long period of time, and how exciting it is.
Yeah, like the switchboard in the pictures Debbie showed. There's this
totally.
switchboard, and now we're
Right.
walking around with a device that can show us movies, or I can talk to someone in any country of the world.
Yeah.
I mean, what? Like instantly. A video chat with,
Right.
It's spectacular. So think of what she got to see in her life,
exactly.
in a field that she was, loved and thrived in.
And I'm so glad she did. I mean, I'm so glad she's still around to see everything that's going on. So,
I think those inspirational moments are important when you're young. So if you're around the youngins, she's still inspired.
She's still very inspiring, and I know she's still here, but I still ask in spirit to spirit a message, and she's like, please continue to teach your children, inspire your children to learn and be curious and that kind of thing. So I feel like she's still, in any way she can, tries to inspire and keep curious, learn, grow. Yeah.
No, she's amazing.
Yeah. Love that. Thank you, Andrea.
I know. I just felt so happy when I saw her.
That is so cool. Very cool. And okay. Wow. Kim, you are next.
I am next.
I just had a really huge sugar drop, a weird feeling. Yeah, so that's why I'm like thinking. So I had Shannon bring me something sugary. I don't. That's been years since I felt that, but that is so weird. So
interesting.
So if you see something go in my mouth, that's
well, that was just sugar. It's okay.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Well, so I have for something completely different, and literally completely different. I picked actually a viewer suggested this one, and I picked it. And it is Farrah Fawcett from Charlie's Angels.
Really?
So first, let me tell you that I had a huge collection of, there she is. I had a huge collection of Charlie's Angels bubblegum cards. And they were like, we would trade them. And I had a huge box of them. It's one of my things, but that and my Barbie collection. I wish those are the two things I wish I had kept. I don't, they could be somewhere. I don't know. But it was one of the funnest things that we used to do. And we would always play Charlie's Angels. So it was just huge when I was about, 10 years old and probably 9 and 10 years old. And of course, everybody had the Farrah hair with the flipped,
100%.
I did want to, if you can bring us back for just a second, I wanted to show a picture, Debbie.
Let's,
as proof of this is when I was about 10 years old.
100% the Farrah flip.
And there's my Farrah flip. And I was so excited that I was able to do flippies on both sides.
You're stunning. You look the same. You haven't aged.
I do.
100%.
Such a Mormon-y picture because I'm all that dorky.
But
anyway,
beautiful.
I had that poster right at the top right.
Oh yes.
That was one of the most famous posters.
Yep.
Such an iconic poster. It is the highest selling poster of all time. So, and that red bathing suit is in the Smithsonian, by the way.
I had, yeah.
Okay, so
I totally had the bathing suit and everything.
So I bet, in San Diego and beach and everything. I'm sure you did, Debbie. So, so her story is kind of interesting in that it was her beginning was super easy, you guys. And it's one of those things where it is like her life was a little bit easy because she was just beautiful. She was just kind of was that way. But she was born on February 2nd, 1947 in Corpus Christi, Texas. She was the youngest of 2 daughters. Her mother was a homemaker. Her father was a contractor. Her older sister ended up being a graphic artist, so they didn't go into the same field. But they were raised Roman Catholic. She went to a parish school of the church that her whole family had attended. And then she went to high school in Corpus Christi, where she was voted most beautiful her freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior year.
Wow.
And then she went to college, and she was voted most beautiful there. So life was really tough. But she was in the Delta sorority. She was a sorority girl, and she was in the college kind of arena. She was voted 10 most beautiful on campus. And it was the first time she was a freshman at the time, had been chosen for that honor. Her photos were sent to various agencies in Hollywood. And David Minish, a Hollywood agent, called her and urged her to come to Los Angeles. So she didn't even really have to try to go out to Los Angeles and start her career. She turned him down. But it's interesting though, because she studied microbiology, and then she changed her major to art, and she ended up going out to Los Angeles. As we know, right away she was put under contract. So she put him off a couple of years, and then she went out. Her parents said, "Oh, go see what happens." She was put under contract right away by Screen Gems. She appeared in a lot of commercials. She was the ultra bright spokeswoman for that product. Was in their ads and on the in their print and commercial ads. And one of her makeup people said that she styled her own hair. You know, when she started doing television, she styled her own hair, did her own makeup. She's very natural, just a very natural beauty. And so she went on to do this. She had a what do they call it? A photo session done. And she went through hundreds of photographs, and she had done her own makeup, done her own hair. And that was the picture that was picked from that photo shoot. And of course it just blew up. It was one of the most famous posters of all time. Again, you know, just the best-selling photo of all time, all of that. In 1976, she was picked to be on a new show, Charlie's Angels. It was done as like a movie of the week, and people loved it, so they brought it as a series. It was the one of the Aaron Spelling productions, and it was, of course, hugely popular, just huge. And after a year, though, she left the show, and people did. And she. Oh, I forgot to mention that she got the People's Choice Award for favorite performer of a new TV performer. She got that honor, and she, after a year she left, and people really still don't know why. So that's something we can ask her. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I heard when I was looking at this, because I was reading the reasons some people speculated why she left. One was that it put a strain on her marriage to Lee Majors at the time, who was the $6 million man, had a huge show of his own, and that it kind of kept them apart. And I heard her very clearly say, "Oh, that's not it." So that was not it. I don't know what it may be, but the other thing was it could possibly be money, that she wanted to do other things. But she did end up leaving the show after a year, and she kind of went into other types of acting. She did a bunch of TV movies, Extremities, The Burning Bed, which is about a woman who is abused, domestically abused. And she was nominated for 4 Primetime Emmys, for 6 Golden Globe Awards for her work afterwards. After Charlie's Angels. So her love life, she divorced Lee Majors in 1982, and she never remarried. However, she had Ryan O'Neal as a partner. They were together, they broke up, and then they were together again. And all the years together was about 30 years they were together. And then she also had a brief relationship with Greg Lott, who I'm not really familiar with. She did have one child. In 2006, she was diagnosed with anal cancer, which I did not know that's what she died of, but she died 3 years later at the age of 62. And it's so interesting because she died the same day as Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
And she really, it was overlooked, kind of her everything. It was really, she was kind of just not talked about. And I even sometimes forget that she passed away because of that, because it was never really acknowledged very much because of the, the hugeness of the Michael Jackson passing. But reading her story, they talk about one particular appearance she had on David Letterman in 1999, where she acted really weird. And I remember that at the time, people speculating she was on drugs or something was wrong. And she looked very, very thin. And so I went back and looked at that interview. And to me, it was clear, especially now, I think, because we know so much more about anxiety and that kind of thing. To me, it seemed and appeared to be nerves, being really, really nervous, and also anxiety. I feel like she may have suffered from anxiety, but she but she was very, very thin. And that actually, I think may have been the dress she was wearing, because she's always been thin. But that also happened. And I did think about, as I was reading about her, how scary it must have been. She actually seemed pretty secure in herself and what she could do as a performer. But how scary it would be to have your looks be so tied to your identity so much that you were just you were the most beautiful. How scary it would be to get older when that is, when it is like that is your identity, is your beauty. That's what everybody thinks of. And then to be compared all the time to your younger self, see that picture all the time. And to me, it does not look like if she had surgery, that she had very little. And I know that when that story came out about her, maybe she's on drugs or something, she was very offended because she was kind of a health nut. She was really, very, very healthy, really into exercise. And, I think she really took care of herself, but that did cross my mind that it would be really scary to have that be your sole identity for so many people, and be in the public eye,
Yeah, she was in an industry where that was really important, your looks.
Yeah. And while I was looking at all of her stuff, I could feel her kind of come in and out, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? kind of thing. And I felt like her spirit was such a sweet spirit, really a nice, kind, sweet spirit. I'm getting chills right now for some reason, but I think that she, that's the way that she came across to me, at least in preparing for this. And as you guys know, a lot of times they'll come in while you're kind of looking at them, as you kind of call them up in a way. By looking at all the information about them. And I just thought that was interesting. She came through with a very, very sweet, very kind spirit. So what do you guys think?
She definitely, she's talking, there's several things, because I've been hearing things the whole time. So where to begin? She definitely is talking about the aging process and doing that in the limelight. She did bring that in, and that she thought that maybe that she could make it beautiful too, make that process beautiful, and make it not such a stigma, right? But it was a thing, like she had to work through it, because, and reverting back to when that picture was taken and like that, and kind of became such a huge thing, and becoming, even though her whole life people looked at her, and you get, you're aware of everybody looking at you. She's saying when you're growing up, even as a small child, people staring at you because of your beauty or whatever. But when that blew up, it was kind of like, it really was a shift in her life. Like, it really changed her life a lot. And I don't know this. Maybe someone can tell me. But it seems to me that she became a little agoraphobic, like having a hard time even leaving the home.
Interesting.
But she's showing me a link to childhood all the way up with that, and linking in that everybody looking at you feeling. So I feel like there were some of those issues that she carried through all the way up, that made her fearful of, or like that anxiety that you got
Anxiety.
onto. The basis of it was kind of like I'm not sure how to place it all, but people staring at you it caused her to be anxious and a little wanting to hide and be a little. It became
Well, she'd always be watched. Imagine you don't have any
everybody
privacy.
always
Corner
eyes on
store.
you, always. So
Yeah.
and the expectations of this and so forth. So it became almost hard. So she was dealing with a little of that.
I'm sure she felt if she left the house, everyone would be looking at her. She goes to the store, she goes to the gas station, whatever. And then maybe she started to feel she has to look a certain way to go outside, right? She just couldn't randomly just go out. She'd have to make sure everything's perfect, that she looked like Farrah Fawcett, right? So maybe it just all started to just be getting too much.
Well, it seemed like even before she was Farrah Fawcett, everybody was looking at her.
Yeah, that's what she's linking.
It was a strange thing.
She's linking way back to people staring at you from very young. It became a thing inside her, and that's what created that underlining anxiety stuff that I think you caught onto there.
I also feel like there was a real strength to her, but I also feel a real fragileness as well, fragility. So it's like almost like two people, because I feel like you would see that part, and to me it feels like in business or in working, like she had this real strength, and then in other ways, and maybe it is like what you're talking about, kind of people staring at her and not giving her privacy in any way, and that kind of thing. There's a real, and I also feel like I just heard this. She got her feelings hurt a lot. Yeah, I'm getting chills with that for some reason. So I think she may have been empathic or something or close to that, because it feels like I got my feelings hurt all the time when so fragile that way.
That's the word I would use when I sense her as fragile. Extremely, like just this tiny little fragile thing that you don't want to bump at all because you don't want to hurt it or shatter it. I would say fragile, but the other half of it is extremely intelligent. Very smart. So it could be her strength, like you're saying, strong in business.
Right.
Very smart, but extremely fragile. Gentle, fragile, timid, nervous. What a load for her to carry and be someone that everyone wants to look at.
Right.
I was wondering about, making that big jump to leave Charlie's Angels when that was at the top, right?
When you were talking about her feelings getting hurt, she brought that in, Charlie's Angels time. And she keeps highlighting someone, but I don't know the Charlie's Angels well enough to be able to name who it is. But I think that there was one of the angels that
tension.
There was something. Yeah.
Was it Sabrina or Kelly?
It could be Kate Jackson or Jacqueline Smith.
Yeah.
Who is it?
They're both brunette. One's hair was longer.
I don't know.
But I think they were a little jealous of her, that she was she was the standout, and she was the face you knew from. So I do feel like there was definitely some. But I think it's weird though, because I think they really liked her, but I think there was a little bit of.
So that's what there's not like not something. It was like. I don't know, because she's not saying, but she's also not saying that they weren't friends or whatever. But
right.
There was just something, and she keeps highlighting, and I just don't know.
I got a card with her that I asked about her life, and it's instinct. So just having that sense of when and I wonder, did she just have a sense, I got to get out of this Charlie's Angels business. It's in my best interest. Maybe she couldn't even put a finger on it, right? But that instinct to know, maybe it was behind the scenes issues.
Yeah.
Or she didn't want to be known as the blonde one or whatever, right? And other times she used, I think she was connected. I think she had,
I agree.
you know, an empath. She had a sense of things.
Right.
And maneuvered life through her instinct. And I also would say, my goodness, you imagine being a young woman and you're getting a call from Hollywood to come out and you go, yeah, maybe in a couple of years, and you hang up. Like,
Right, when I was reading your story, I was just like, this is just ridiculous.
wow. And again, that's her using her brain and her instinct.
Yeah.
It wasn't time for her to go. She didn't, you know.
Did they? Okay, you guys need to help me on this. Did they cast her as more of the dummy blondie one?
I think kind of, wasn't that?
Kind of.
Sabrina was the smart one.
Yeah, Sabrina was the smart, exactly. Yeah. And so she wasn't dumb, but she was kind of just not as smart as,
I think that because she's kind of trying to piece together for me so I can put it in a sentence for y'all. I think that had something to do with it too. So that's might be why she's highlighting these women, because she's like, no, we're friends, but she kept highlighting, especially one. And I don't know, again, I don't know. I'm so not, I'm sorry guys, but she shows her and she's kind of talking to me in like this little, and I you know, like more the dumb one. So that's how I'm piecing this together, guys. And that's what happened.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
And I think Sabrina and Kelly, weren't they more established actresses as well? And they were probably a little bit like, we've been acting for a while. Then this blonde one, she's really pretty and everyone knows her and wants to talk to her.
Right.
It could have been a little bit of that.
Right. Because she really was just a lot of commercials and, you know, and the poster and that kind of thing.
Super proud of that burning bed thing that she did.
Yeah.
Highlighting the abuse of women.
It was a powerful movie.
Super proud.
She was really good in that.
Yeah.
I kind of almost feel like she wanted something. She wanted some kind of to be more involved in Charlie's Angels, almost like a producer credit or something like that. Mm-hmm. Like she wanted to be kind of like more than, and it was just like, no, that
I just heard that
you're just this.
Yeah. And I didn't think she was smart enough to be like a producer on the show or
I'm getting chills with that. As soon as you said that,
that was right here. She leaned in, so they didn't think I was smart enough.
Yeah.
Which again, right? Same with Erna. You're a single woman. How can you possibly be anything? Now we see Farrah Fawcett. How you're so pretty. Please don't tell us anything. You don't have a brain. And meanwhile, she's really smart. We know she was smart.
Well, and I think there's that thing of with both men and women, but if somebody is so beautiful and they're beautiful and they get to be an actress, it's like, that's all you get. Mm-hmm. Don't tell us you're smart too. That's too much. You can't have that too. I remember Oprah talking about that syndrome that she felt like she had to keep weight on because it was almost like leveling the playing field. Like it was, you know, she couldn't be this brilliant, you know, whatever. It's like being heavy was kind of her way of evening the playing field for people, so they wouldn't be jealous of her. They wouldn't go after her. It's like, you know, she was one of them, kind of kept her down a notch. And I think there's something about that as well, that people kind of wanted to keep her at a certain level because it's like, okay, you get that, and that's all you get. Because that's a lot.
Which would be frustrating to her if she thought, hey, I could maybe direct an episode or write an episode or
absolutely
whatever. And they're like, go stand over there and be pretty.
Right.
Yeah. So she's wanting me to make sure that everybody knows that it wasn't the girls that she worked with on Charlie's Angels. It was So I was interpreting it that way because she kept highlighting this one. I'm like, and so in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, did they have a thing? Like but she's saying no. She wants to make sure y'all know that it was there, there may have been tensions here and there, but they were all friends.
Right.
What else? Yeah, I think that was it. But yeah. I really like her.
I do too.
And
Too.
and she was given, she's like, she was given the privilege of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And she's hoping that she did well with that privilege. But she said it was hard. It was hard. We think, oh, you're pretty, blah, blah, blah. No, it comes with its own challenges.
Right.
To the point where she was fearful of leaving her home because the eyes on you.
Right. And I don't think that people are very sympathetic to that.
No, they don't. They're like, oh,
pretty.
Get over it. What are
you complaining about? Yeah. I think that's absolutely right, Debbie.
Yes.
And yeah, there's always that flip side of any kind of thing that that you excel at, or that is an obvious, positive trait. There's always a flip side to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not to be jealous of someone until you walk the mile in their shoes, right? So if she's pretty but afraid to leave the house, I mean, that's not a great life, right? Mm-hmm. You wouldn't want that. Right. So, be kind.
Sorry. Another thing she's pointing out, is that they didn't and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, they didn't cast another dim-witty person.
Right. They cast Cheryl Ladd, and she was supposed to be her younger sister. But she was not the same kind of, she wasn't that dumb kind of.
Yeah, that dingy, whatever that they did. Yeah, no. Mm-hmm. And she takes credit for that.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, because it was not a carbon copy for sure. Yeah.
If she didn't want to be thought of as like
they couldn't change her character, so.
Right.
But they didn't recast one either.
Right.
She didn't feel that was right. Yeah.
And it's funny that she was only on 1 year, but she's like the most famous one.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Without question, she's the most famous one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Debbie knew who she was. And she
I knew who she was.
had no idea who the other two were. So, well, thank you. I had the same feeling, Debbie. I really liked her. I could feel her popping in and coming in, and she just had such a sweet, a niceness about her that I just thought she's,
very all inclusive, very inclusive too.
Yeah,
person. She feels like a small town girl, and I mean that in all the best ways. Like just you love your mom and dad, and you help with the chores, and you're kind to your friends, and you just that kind of salt of the earth. That nice small town girl. That's what she feels like, and
she loves. I'm teary because she's teary right now. She's teary in a good way. Like this is just beautiful, and she's so grateful that we're seeing her life and bringing in this beautifulness about it, and not just she was really pretty and I had her poster or whatever, you know what I mean, that the reality of her. She's very grateful. She's very much an empath. You're very correct, Kim. Empath 100%.
Yeah. And Roxanne's asking, what does she think about our SCOTUS? As I read that, I felt the word diminished. She doesn't like women are diminished in any way. that it's very harmful, and that, but she's very like, but they'll fix this. They'll fix this. So she's like, they'll almost like, don't worry. They'll turn this around. But just that word came up that she doesn't like the idea of people in any form diminished.
And she's very much paying attention to, you know what I mean? This is something, a cause to her heart, especially putting women in vulnerable positions again, where they don't, you know, again, linking back to her standing up for abused women.
Yes. Yeah.
I like Farrah.
I do too. I think yes. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you, Farrah. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, mine's very, very different. So I'm going to set this up here. My person, her name is Lois Brooker. And I'm going to pull this over so I can read it over here. Okay. All right. So Lois Brooker. Oh, I guess you want to see a picture of her too. Okay. She is. Uh-oh. I did that before. Okay. So here's Lois. And this is one of the books that she wrote. And sorry, still setting up here. Getting it set up, guys. I'm in charge of this, so it's always a little iffy. There we go.
I would not imagine that from her pictures that she would have written that book. That's a shocker.
Yeah. Okay. So Lois was born in 1826, February 21st, 1826.
Oh,
Right. And she was an American feminist author, editor, publisher, and campaigner of the later 19th and early 20th centuries. She wrote extensively on the issues of sex, marriage, birth control, and women's rights, plus related areas of radical thought like free speech and anarchism. And anarchism. Yeah, she actually lived in a community. I don't know if you call it a commune or something like that, but of anarchists and spiritualism. All right. She is perhaps best remembered for her 1893 novel, A Sex Revolution. Yeah.
1893.
1893.
Wow.
She was born Adeline Eliza Nichols in upstate New York. She grew up in poverty there, and I guess they moved to Ohio at some point. She had little formal education and worked for some years as a domestic servant. At the beginning at the age of 17, an illegitimate pregnancy, a forced marriage, a quick widowhood, and a brief second marriage inspired her devotion to feminist values. She converted to spiritualism and became a trance speaker, a spiritualist at spiritualist gatherings. By 1863, she had adopted the name Lois Brooker and began a practice of lecturing and journalism, and that continued through the remainder of her life. She wrote passable poetry, but I'm passing that. She She wrote prose. Okay, so she helped to organize the Boston Social Freedom Convention in the 1870s and served as an official of the American Labor Reform League in 1882 to 83. She founded and edited 3 periodicals, one called Our Age, Foundation Principles, and Clothed with the Sun, sometimes even setting the type and operating and printing the press herself. In 1892, she served as acting editor of an anarchist free thought weekly title. It was called Lucifer the Light Bearer, which I found very interesting. When its former editor Moses Harman went to prison, like other radical writers of the period, she was prosecuted under the Comstock Act that prohibited the sending of obscene materials through the U.S. mail. So you remember back then that you'd be prosecuted. Yeah. Okay, before I move on, I want to say the editor, Moses Harman, went to prison. He was the editor of this Lucifer the Light Bearer. There is a woman who had a baby, but her husband forced her to have sex with him. And she bled out and died because she had just had that baby, right? And so but he's not, so the husband wasn't prosecuted because, he owns the woman, the wife who he forced, even though, right?
Mm.
And she died because of his actions, but he's not prosecuted. Mm-hmm. However, this editor comes after him, right? And this editor who comes out after him and brings it to light, the editor goes to jail. Mm. Right? Okay, so that's the times, you guys. So anyway, so she takes over for him while he's in prison, while he's in jail, of this journal. All right. Okay, Lois Brooker spent a late phase of her career at the experimental community of Home, Washington. She arrived there early in 1901. Local residents built her a small house. I think this is where she lived, in the anarchist community. While there, she became involved in another legal controversy. She and the local postmistress, Maddie de Penhallow, were arrested and charged with disseminating obscene material. The material in question being the article in Clothed with the Sun titled "The Awful Fate of Fallen Women." A jury convicted Lois Brooker. A sympathetic judge sentenced her to the minimum penalty of a fine of $100. Penhallow was acquitted, though the U.S. Post Office subsequently closed the home post office. So they closed that post office where they were working out of. She continued her activities to the end of her life, despite her advancing age and worsening health. She left home for Denver in 1904 and died in Antioch, California, where she is buried along with her son Abner. At the age of 83, penniless at the time of her death in 1909, Lois Brooker had spent over 40 years promoting the twin ideas of assertive womanhood and female sexuality as positive power. Okay, Lois. Wow. What a gal.
I mean, we got to say thank you to these women
Right.
who did these things in history to help us.
Right.
Paving the way. She was really brilliant too. Her spiritual analysis of women in a capitalist society having so she okay. I'm going to leave that, but she was brilliant, and she was able to bring. She was able to see into like why men had to be in that controlling position. She was against marriage and so was that man who went to jail. They were all against marriage because they saw it as a slavery type of deal. And so that was and this, we're talking the 1800s here. They were trying to bring this out and bring it to light, and everything was trying to crush them. But she had some really good insight to men controlling the avenues of wealth and ownership, including marriage, and women economically. And so that's kind of, they had to keep that control, and that's kind of the basis of what's still happening today in jobs and all. Yeah. So thank you, Lois.
You know, I keep getting, and I'm sure I'm going to butcher this because she was a writer, so I'm sure she would say it in a much more, but I keep getting something like this idea of sex with women, that it begins and ends there. If you don't have that autonomy, everything else is kind of moot. Because you can have like, you can get the same or close to the same wage as a man, or you can have these other freedoms. But if you don't have that freedom, and I feel like she's talking about now, because I feel like she's so wants us to understand how, and of course we do, but I just feel like in general, she wants women to understand how important that is. That ability to make your own decisions about those kinds of personal things about your own body, that if you don't have that, the rest is moot. So it's like that you guys need to get in there, and this is important. This is important. So that's what's coming through very, very clearly to me. I feel like she wants to fire us up. She wants to inspire us to really fight for this, because that's it. It starts and ends there. Anyway, that's what I'm getting.
Yes, very strong. She has that, like, I'm feeling that same energy from her. She's like, don't give your power away to anybody at any level. Check when you give your power away. Don't give your power away to anyone.
I love how feisty she is. I feel like she was little too. Tiny in stature, but big. And
yeah, I think you're right about that.
And really bright. I mean, she would not suffer fools. You could not pull the wool over her eyes. She saw everything. It just makes me feel like you did not fool her for 1 second. She really, really bright woman.
She's saying it's one thing to say truth. It's another to write. She's like, ladies, write it down, write down truths. It's one thing when you speak truth out. It's another when it's written. It's on that paper, right? It's on that, or whatever computer. She didn't say computer. She's showing me paper. So, but same thing. She's like, write things down, because it adds that extra layer of realness to it. She's talking about this fight that we're in, that we continue to be in. in our own autonomy, what you were talking about, Kim. So she's trying to help us in this fight.
Mm-hmm.
I think she's also like, hi, it's been 100 years. Why is this still happening?
Right. It is that feeling of like, come on, you know, and just the importance of it, that it's not a nothing. It's not just like just a medical thing. It's really, really, yeah, it's really important. And, you know, when you talked about that editor going to jail instead of the perpetrator, it reminds me of what is happening now with, you know, rape and incest. Now they don't even talk about the rapist or the incest, you know, the person who
perpetrator. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they don't even talk about that. They talk about doctors. They're going to go to jail, and people that try to help a girl get an abortion, they're going to go to jail. It's so screwed up. It's so backwards.
Yeah. I saw a woman holding a sign, and she said, "If you don't have a uterus, you don't have a voice." In the, you know what I mean? In the decisions for women, like, why is any group of men deciding what should happen to women? Mm-hmm. At the very least, let us all be sitting at the table as women to decide what's right for women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So this is Aries girl put it in. You took my words and put it down correctly. It's recorded. The power of the written word. That's it. Yes. Power.
And there's no ambiguity too. You can't, because when somebody says something, you can say, "Oh, you didn't say that. That's not what you said." You know, it's there. It's there. It's so it can't be, you know, configured or you know, denied.
She's also saying, and you can use their words against them too. That is written down.
Right.
But
and she would do it all again. I just heard her say, "I don't care that I died penniless. That's not what my life was about. It was to come in and do it all again."
She's also saying she's I mean, that she'll come in as a woman. I don't know if she's already here, but she said as a woman. Always you know, obviously she's probably lived many lives, but as a woman.
I almost can't believe she wouldn't be here in this fight in some way.
Right.
You know, whether it's a spirit or whether she's actually here, but it almost feels like she could not be here.
I got the chills on that, Kim.
I think she's here.
Yeah, I think she may
be a woman. Who's a woman?
Okay.
Is she?
Oof.
Is she?
Yeah, my head got all tingly on that one.
Yeah, she's definitely helping.
Yeah.
Yes, female. Yeah.
She's saying newspapers. Something about newspapers, or it could be a symbol. So obviously something about writing.
Getting the word out, right?
Oh, getting the word out.
Get the word out. And I keep hearing, don't sit still, don't take it. Like, do something. Write a letter to your mayor or your, you know, whoever it is. Write a letter to the hospitals and say that you support doctors, you know what I mean? Performing these things, like, get your voice heard. You know, we can all sit passively and think, well, can I really do anything? But you can write a letter, write many letters, call them.
I just asked her, who did you channel when you were here? Like, she was a channeler.
Oh, right. That's so interesting. Yes.
And she's like, people like Nostradamus. She's not saying she channeled Nostradamus. She said people like, so other People
Visionaries.
or something. I don't know. People like, she said, maybe I wouldn't know their name, but I would, if she threw out the word Nostradamus, I would recognize that.
Mm-hmm.
You know me, guys. Like, throw out a name. All right. So, but yeah, like lots. She's showing me also writing down a lot of, like, things were written down. So I think a lot of these channeling was written down. I wonder if we could find one.
Ooh.
Recorded. They were recorded. And but that's where
Yeah.
they were, that enlightenment, she's saying, and understanding. Men and women, right, that were enlightened in the time and really coming together to try to bring change and awareness. Yeah, interesting.
Just what a strange thing to undermine half the population. Right? Why is half the population? And I think we're actually more. I think there's actually more females on the earth than males, but whatever. Let's say it's that. Why would you make their value less than yours? Isn't that a strange concept?
It really is.
Like, we're not even talking about ethnicities or anything. We're just talking straight up half the population based on genetics or like your whatever.
Right? Not even, yeah.
Your
Well, and we've seen that again and again and again, where when they diminish women's accomplishments, it hurts them. Mm-hmm. It doesn't help them in any way. It doesn't build them up in any way. It diminishes accomplishment, period. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's
something like that, Christine. I think they want to keep the power. Well, power is a terrible drug, isn't it? That kind of power.
Well, and we're seeing now what lengths they will go to just to stay in their position, with the things they will say, the things they will do, the things, that they will have done to them, things said about them. They don't care. They just want that position to keep that little tiny bit of power they have. It's pathetic, really. But
it's a strange concept to my mind.
Well, it is, because it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't really help them in any way. It just is. It is bullying. That is what it is. Yeah. Somebody said it was bullying, dominating. That's
So this is interesting. So she gave me a nickname. She gave herself a nickname, Wildflower. She considered herself like a wildflower.
I like that.
In the middle of all kinds of, but anyway, so I wanted to share that. But I also, every time I'm looking at her channeling, I see her like fun. So I'm like, are you a physical like channeler or like that? And then Tony says, not sure, but Lois may have written a book called Learning Physical Ectoplasm Mediumship. Oh. So that's that physical medium. And I thought, I'm like, are you one of those people that like that physical? That'd be hard, man. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting. I don't know. I know she wrote a lot of books, but I don't. Oh, and look, there's Wildflower Wind. Oh, that is so funny.
Ah.
That's weird. Okay.
Well, she's confirmation. Lois has definitely got a higher connection, and she definitely came down here with a purpose that time, and I'm sure this time too, if she is indeed back.
Yeah.
I feel like whenever we talk to other mediums or other spiritual people, whatever, I get that tingly right here. I always get that same sensation when I talk to people who do that.
That crown chakra thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, she is fascinating. She's really, yeah.
Again, it just, makes me sit and think about all the women before us who've done everything they can to try to advance the female on the earth, right? The female from in any range of occupation or just health or community. Like, it's amazing. Amazing when it was so like they weren't connected like we are now, where we can all band together and have more, connection digitally. They were just small in their little groups in the little towns, fighting the fight.
Yeah.
It just really makes me stop and think about these women and to say thank you.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Thank you, for sure. And paving the way for us too, her work that she did spiritually.
And I have to tell you, I just heard her say really loudly, "You can do this." So she's like trying to put I think light a fire a little bit, and remind us that we have the power to do it, right? Like you said, Andrea, we need to band together. There's a need right now for women to stick together. We always talk about it, right? Debbie always says, link arms. That's exactly the kind of thing that we have to do right now.
Together we can.
Whatever our differences are, we have to come together for this thing, because this is it's so important. It's so important that we have autonomy.
Yeah.
Physical autonomy. Ridiculous.
Yeah. And I just have to show my
2022. Yeah.
You reminded me, don't forget to show your regulate it, not Jane. That's the takeaway tonight.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
I love that. I love that. Hilarious.
Well, thank you, Lois, for hanging out with us.
Thank you.
And
so much.
I just want to bless your new person, your new energy form here, human experience, wherever you are, changing the world today. So, yeah, wow.
Absolutely. And we can do this.
We can do this.
We can do this. Absolutely.
Okay. Andrea, you want to do the synopsis? You always do so well at drawing.
Well, I feel like we brought forward three very intelligent women. Not that all women aren't intelligent, but these three seemed extra intelligent to me tonight. They had really good instincts, and they broke through barriers, obviously different times in the world. And they're amazing. These women, each one tonight was amazing in their own way.
Yeah.
I love every single one of them.
Yeah. And inspiring. And that, like Farrah Fawcett being beautiful, but an icon, like really one of the biggest icons. There's Marilyn Monroe, and then there's kind of Farrah Fawcett following her, right? But breaking through that mold, like she said no to one of the biggest shows ever, because she didn't want to be told to be something, right? Breaking through.
Yeah.
And the Lois breaking through in this, in the 1800s? I mean, bless her, the tiny little thing. I'm sure she was
unbelievable. Yeah.
Breaking through. And Erna for breaking through in the science. And here she is, smarter than the dudes at work, and having babies and coming up with formulas that last to today.
Yeah.
And
so
not given tenure because she was single.
Yeah, single woman. like what?
Like what? Oh my gosh. Okay. So we got this. We got this, everyone. We got this. This is.
Yeah. And women are incredible. We hear it every week. We come and bring these incredible, amazing women every week. Women are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. We are strong. Amazing. So blessings to you all. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We are skipping next Monday, but we'll be back the next Monday. So
It will be on my channel.
on Tim's channel in 2 weeks. So until then, blessings to you. Keep up the good fight, and we'll see you there. Oh, and if you would like to, we do have a few spots open on Saturdays. On this Saturday, we have a workshop, a mediumship workshop. If you're interested, it's kind of like all levels. So it's just like almost like an intro, but lots of tools and fun things that we'll do together. Workshop on Wednesday, and you can check that out. Freebirdspirit.com here. And a few spots left. Check it out, okay? Thought I'd throw that.
Yeah, I'm glad you did that.
All right, bye guys.
All right.